I might agree that Hillel and Shammai might have been actual people, but I don't see any evidence whatsoever that these people had large schools or that they were the leading voices in rabbinic thought in the first century, or that they even existed in the first century. And so my friend actually brought up something that's in the Jewish Encyclopedia. It's an online resource. And granted, I think that, obviously, what's the Jewish outlook going to be? The Jewish outlook on this is going to be, well, the Mishnah and the Talmud go back to Sinai. Certainly they were around in the first century. And these teachings have, always been part of our history. And so, of course, they were around in the first century. Well, that can be said, but once again, where's the proof of this? The earliest manuscript that we have, I think the scrap manuscript that we have of something that looks like it was from the Mishnah, I think was found in the Cairo Geniza, dated to the 7th or 8th century. We don't have anything more substantial than that until I think the 9th or 10th century, and we don't have a full complete manuscript of the Mishnah until the 12th century, which is found in a copy of the Babylonian Talmud. So the manuscript evidence is simply not there. And for those who are watching this who maybe are new to the show, or maybe you are coming out of Christianity, or you're in Christianity and maybe this is all kind of new to you, it is purported that the Mishnah was written down in the 3rd or 4th century by Yehuda Hanassi. That's the claim. However, once again, we don't really have good evidence of that. It's kind of as if this has been repeated time and time again. And actually, my rabbinics teacher is Rob. And so Rob could probably shed much more light on this than I could. However, it doesn't seem that we have any solid evidence that it was that Yehuda Hanassi actually wrote down the Mishnah, first of all, and it doesn't seem that we have any solid evidence that it was done in the 3rd or 4th century. Now, I'm fine saying that let's pretend that we do have that evidence that it was written down in the 4th century. Well, for this discussion, I think that's something that we can just go ahead and we'll assume it for now. Assuming that the Mishnah was written down in the 4th century, the question that I would have is, what evidence do we have from first century sources that Hillel and Shammai were prominent teachers or even existed in the 1st century? Because I think that we can see within various rabbinical literature that one of the things that the rabbis attempt to do is assign more weight to a teaching, and they do that by saying that someone earlier said it.
Right.
And so to me, the school of Hillel, the school of Shammai could just as well be, okay, we have these two thoughts. One is going to be more lenient, one is going to be more strict. And so we're going to basically
play them against each other.
Yeah, we're going to play them against each other. So we'll just, and we'll play these two, we'll say that these are the arguments. We'll put them in the 1st century and we'll say that they're Hillel and Shammai. Because I don't think that, you found this the other day and remind me about this. I think the first attestation that we have of the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai, which, by the way, they're never called rabbi. I learned that from Rob the other day. But the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai, the first reference that we have to them in historical documents is actually Jerome, right?
I believe that's true. Jerome mentions... Now Jerome, obviously, he's 4th, 5th century.
Yes.
So he's an external source. Jerome spent time in Israel learning Hebrew, right? I mean, because he was all about. Remember, Jerome was saying we need to revise a brand new Latin translation of scriptures. We need to go directly from Hebrew into Latin. That's what Jerome was all about. That was his Holy Grail quest. And so he said, I need to learn Hebrew so I can do this, right? Because the scriptures we need a hardwired translation, Hebrew directly into Latin, and not go through the Greek. That was did he accomplish that is a different evaluation we're not going to make, but that's his effort. That's why he's learning Hebrew. And so he's interacting with Jews. So we know he's talking about that there's, school of Hillel and school of Shammai. But he's talking about what Jews in his day and age are talking about. He's not he of course is not a witness for first century, right? Jerome is talking about what he's encountering in his day and age. But what we do not have is first century evidence of these houses, House of Hillel or House of Shammai.
I think also another thing, and we'll get to the reference that my buddy sent me here in a few seconds, but I think another thing that's important to point out to folks who might not know, when we talk about schools in the first century, it's not like they had classrooms that people went to, they sat down at a table and they opened a book. That's not how it was. Basically what we're talking about in terms of a school is a train of thought, and possibly that a teacher had disciples that would follow him around or would live with him or something like that. But it wasn't like it wasn't a school like what we think of today. It wasn't like a university or even a yeshiva like we have today. I think that there could be a solid case made that there was the school of Yeshua, right? Because he had disciples who followed him around. He had kind of this teaching that he was giving. You have the same thing with Yochanan the Baptizer, John the Baptist, right? He had these. It seems as though he had these disciples who were around him a lot. When he's in prison, he sends his disciples to Yeshua to ask if he's the Christos, right?
Hey, did you enjoy that video? If you did, you should like it and share it. That way other people can see it too. And you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll never miss another clip. You can do that by clicking this round thing right here. Yeah, click that right there. Subscribe. It's a good idea.